In business this week, three things to know. First, workers have spring in their step. The U.S. economy adds 223,000 jobs in April, and the unemployment rate falls to 5.4%. But the report wasn't too hot nor too cold, and the markets soared on that news. Then, a sweep for David Cameron. His party dominates the UK elections and routs the Liberal Democrats. How politics just changed overnight in England. And Startup Nation. We'll speak with the president of the brand new country, Liberland, and ask him, why does Europe need a new country? Arise Exchange starts now. Hello, everyone. I'm Andrew Schmertz. It's the type of jobs report that almost everyone can get behind. Not too hot, not too cold. More jobs created, but not too many as to spook the markets. A slight improvement in wages, but not enough to suggest higher interest rates. And just the right mix of real-world numbers and Labor Department fantasy statistics that help make up the unemployment number. All in all, a report that is a marked improvement from March. Let's take a look. The U.S. economy added 223,000 new jobs in April. The estimate was for 224,000 new jobs. But what's 1,000 unless you're one of those who didn't get a job? That pushed the unemployment rate down to 5.4%, to the lowest level since 2008. And hourly wages showed hints of accelerating, albeit slower than a dead fish, with the average pay of American workers rising 0.1%. We're going to go talk through the numbers in a moment with Mark Grimaldi. But first, the markets welcomed the jobs report. Let's take a look at the final numbers. The Dow up 266.25 to 18,190, back over that 18,000 mark. The S&P 500 up 28 and change, and the Nasdaq, a good performance on the Nasdaq as well, up 58 even. Taking a look at the week, the market's turning things around. The Dow up for the week 350 points. Dow is up 350 points for the week. The S&P 500 and the Nasdaq also showing positive gains. AOL reported a quarterly profit above estimates. Earnings came in at 34 cents a share. AOL says strong advertising sales boosted earnings. AOL closing up 4 and change. That's better than 10%. Tesla secured orders of $800 million for its new line of batteries for use in homes and offices. Tesla, which has been selling off, down 19 cents. And Walmart says it will acquire more retail and distribution space in Canada from its rival Target. The retailer will spend about $136 million for 13 stores. Walmart up $0.50. Taking a look at commodities, gold down nearly 8 points. Oil up about 44 cents, still under that $60 a barrel mark. The healthy April jobs number may mean a sigh of relief following the weak March numbers. Here to help us dig through the numbers is Mark Grimaldi of Grimaldi Economics and author of The Money Compass. Mark, welcome back to Arise Exchange. Thank you. Good to see you.
Happy to be here.
Okay, they call this the Goldilocks report. Why?
Because, like you said in the open, it wasn't too hot, it wasn't too cold. And the stock market did rally on that, but there's some reasons it did rally. And some of those reasons aren't good news.
Absolutely. First, wages did not really go up much.
Wages over the last 12 months have increased 2.2%, which we all know is not even keeping pace with inflation.
And the reason that's key is, one, the Fed has targeted wages as one of the reasons it would raise interest rates, but also higher wages cut into corporate earnings.
Correct. So we have wages not growing, only 2.2, and we have low interest rates, and we have oil cut in half almost the last 4 months, and we still have a GDP that was almost flat in the first quarter.
And not to pour too much cold water on the hot jobs report, but also the labor participation number, which is people looking for jobs, continues to fall.
Correct. In 2009, I wrote and I forecast that the recovery would be extremely tepid. Here's what concerns me going to the next 3 to 6 months. Everything the Fed does, they almost always create a bubble. Housing bubble, stock market bubble.
They've created a huge asset bubble. No one's going to deny that.
They've created a huge asset bubble, and I don't think they're going to stop until that bubble is fully inflated.
And then how are they going to let the air out slowly? Because we had a picture of Janet Yellen deflating a tire because they would like to deflate it slowly, but they run the risk of popping the balloon if you believe this is a bubble. They
have no control in deflating it. They think they do, but they don't. And the reason there's so much talk about are they going to increase rates for the first time since 2008? What you don't hear the media telling you is they're concerned that if they increase it even the slightest amount, and then the economy softens, and then they don't continue to increase it, it's going to send a message to Wall Street that we're in a mess.
Well, and that's why many are saying you're not looking at anything until September at the earliest when it comes to interest rate hikes.
I happen to be in that camp.
Are you in the camp, which is sort of the extremist camp, that the Fed not only will not raise interest rates, but they're going to have to revisit quantitative easing?
I would be very surprised if they raised them in 2015. And again, that's not the popular opinion. Revisiting quantitative easing is definitely a possibility. When on May 29th, we're going to get...
What kind of message is that going to send?
It's going to send the correct message that the economy is not growing.
Right.
Eventually, like Ronald Reagan said, don't be afraid to see what you see.
Okay, but we are seeing more jobs created in the economy. What is creating those jobs? What is helping to drive that?
What's helping to drive that, very simple, is consumer demand. Believe it or not, consumers are the only part, but we're the only part spending. And we represent 2/3 of the economy, which is good, but businesses stop spending completely. Businesses aren't spending. We're spending.
Also, I wonder, when you look at the GDP, and we had a very tepid GDP growth, which may turn negative, but because of a trade imbalance, so it's not entirely based on the U.S. economy and how it's performing. That is sort of a leading indicator when it comes to job growth, isn't it, over the next quarter?
Absolutely. And it's going to be adjusted, as you mentioned, it's going to be adjusted on May 29th. A lot of economists, including myself, think it's going to be adjusted negative. Now, the good news is last year, the first quarter was negative. So a negative first quarter this year may not be the worst thing, but it is technically halfway to a recession.
But can we get to 3% growth GDP this year?
It'd be very difficult. Not without job growth and not without consumer demand-driven inflation, and we haven't seen it.
All right, Mark. Well, we started the show very happy about the jobs report, and then you came in. But you tell it like it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark Romaldi.
Great to see you.
Appreciate it. Talk to you soon. Well, this time yesterday, we were all talking about a historic close election in the UK, and we were all wrong. David Cameron's centre-right party ran away with Parliament, crushing the Liberal Democrats. What happened, and how? Now, what does it mean for relations with the European Union? Arise News correspondent and our official British reporter, Actor Khan, is here to break it down again. Hi, Actor.
Hi there, Andrew.
Okay, so this was a real shocker because all the polls suggested this was going to be a dead heat.
Yeah, the pollsters are going to have to go back and do their homework over and over again and see where they went wrong. And apparently the pollsters got it right during the Scottish national elections. And the question there was, should Scotland become independent from the rest of the United Kingdom? So that was more in line with the elections this time round than they predicted in 2010. Now, it's a complete turnaround for Cameron. What he's done effectively is now taken it back to the two-party system, with the Liberal Democrats in the background, if you like. But it's now become very much conservative against Labour. We've traditionally always had it in the UK. So, but with the 326, which is the key number to form a majority and therefore a government, 331 is what he was looking for, and that's exactly what he got.
Right, so he does not need to form a coalition government.
He does not need to form a coalition government. He has a majority of 12. Not a huge majority that Margaret Thatcher, for example, in 79, well over 100 MPs, she could do effectively what she liked. But within reason, he has a majority now. So, you know, he can now go on ahead and form the next government.
What do you think was the argument that won the day?
Well, you know, a combination of arguments. I think Europe was pretty much up there because the Labour Party have got a lot of Eurosceptics in there. UKIP, rather, the UK Independence Party, have come through on the manifesto, on the ballot box, because they've said they want to move away from Europe. So that's one thing. Cameron has promised to have a referendum on Europe, should they still remain a member of the European Union, in 2017. So that was a big issue as well. Plus the economy. I think Labour, in terms of wanting to break up the banks and also in terms of wanting to cap energy prices, so on and so forth. And of course, investors traditionally tend to be very conservative, as you know. I think all of those combinations made Conservative more an attractive a proposition.
The headline of the Huffington Post was a divided union, Jack, and you mentioned Scotland. So what is the future of the United Kingdom?
Well, you know, interesting enough, the other big winner in the election was the SNP, the Scottish National Party, and Nicola Sturgeon, who actually said, you know what, if we come into power stronger, then that means that people have given us the mandate to go back to Westminster and to David Cameron and say, we want another referendum. We want another stab at the apple, which is, should Scotland become independent? And I think based on that, and of course, Labour MPs lost to the SNP, particularly in Scotland, based on that fact, I think they've gained ground.
And really interesting, this was a very strong performance by women
Yeah, I mean, you know, women have always, I mean, let me just go back again to Thatcher, because I'm a Thatcher child. When she came into power, I was very much at school. And, you know, she surrounded herself by mostly men in the cabinet, had hardly any females in the cabinet. Now it's become a little bit more balanced, 29% in this time round compared to 22% in terms of the overrepresentation of members of parliament in Westminster back in 2010. So women are now coming more and more to the foreground, and thankfully more women are appearing in the cabinet as well.
I want to go back to this Euro referendum because it's in 2017, and this is a really dicey issue for the United Kingdom, is how much to throw themselves in with mainland Europe, basically, in the Eurozone.
Okay, I'm going to go back to Thatcher again, the Treaty of Rome, in the sense that it was she who said, look, this is all about economics, and it makes economic sense for Britain to be part of the European Union. You know, Andrew, as much as I do, that if Britain were to leave the European Union, that would be a huge disaster for Europe and, of course, have ramifications across the pond here in the US. So that's simply not going to happen, and it's simply not going to be a question the British people are going to entertain. They're going to have to be a part of Europe wholeheartedly, one of the big three key major players other than France and Germany. But what they've got to hold on to is that £3 billion rebate that Mrs. Thatcher negotiated. So not being a part of Europe is total non-starter.
Parliamentary elections swing very quickly. When George Bush won, Karl Rove made the famous comment about a permanent Republican majority. Are they, in essence, setting themselves up for a permanent Conservative majority, at least for a while in the UK?
No, I don't think so. I think this is a good turn for the UK, and very much, obviously, for the Conservatives. And Labour, you know, have always, as I said, Tony Blair has been in power for 13 years before Cameron came in, but they've been out in the wilderness, the Conservatives, and they've been trying to reevaluate them. It's pretty much what, like, the GOP here are trying to do, trying to determine their sense of direction, their purpose to the American electorate. The Conservatives were out in the political wilderness doing the same thing, and now it looks like Labour are going to have to do exactly the same thing. But then again, 12-seat majority is not a huge majority, Andrew.
Sure. Actor Khan, terrific report. Thank you.
Thank you.
And coming up, our interview with the newest president of the newest nation. You're watching Arise Xchange. Stay with us.
The best way to predict the future is to create it.
There's a special breed of achievers out there that are called tomorrow's people, the highly creative ones who live in the future. They imagine what will be and strive to make it happen. They're bold. They refuse to wait for the future. Tomorrow bends and conforms to their ideas. At Access Bank, we share the same sentiments. We've been able to grow our bank to become a leading player in Nigeria with a strong presence across the continent, adopting best practice in everything we do. Our mantra for success is simple: speed, service, and security. Those who shape tomorrow, strive for, and demand perfection. At Access Bank, our service culture of speedy response and drive for excellence is the blueprint for creating customer experiences that will echo for generations. Come, let's work together and take tomorrow.
Well, Arise is the only network that really covers comprehensively the African diaspora. It gives people in other parts of the world of color a chance to know about people here in the United States, us to know about them, and the world to know about us. So it's kind of an educational experience for everybody involved. Getting to know people through stories, through personal stories. You really get a chance to know what people are actually all about, what communities are about. How are we different? But more importantly, what commonalities we all share.
Welcome back to Arise Xchange. Time now for our business ticker. Stories making headlines across the nation and the world. President Obama cranks up his campaign for the Pacific Trade Pact with a visit to Nike headquarters. The sports giant is announcing it will create 10,000 new U.S. jobs if the pact is approved. For years, Nike has been criticized for using low-cost labor in Asia. Mr. Obama hopes the announcement will prove that the trade agreement can increase job creation at home and not ship employment overseas. How sweet it is, or maybe not. The Mars Candy Company is now supporting government recommendations to limit sugar intake as long as it's not in their candy. Mars is not cutting back on the amount of sugar in its products, just telling you how much sugar is actually in them. It's a surprising move from one of the world's largest candy companies, but the makers of M&Ms say they want to help you be healthier as long as you eat M&Ms. In America, we love our moms, and that's good for the economy. A new survey shows that Mother's Day spending will surge to $21 billion this year. Cards, flowers, and jewelry are the top items. Mother's Day beats both Valentine's Day and the Super Bowl for sales. The average shopper spending more than $170 on a gift for mom. And waving goodbye to Uncle Sam. A record number of U.S. citizens are turning in their passports to avoid the tax man. Unlike most other countries, the IRS wants a cut of your pay no matter where you live in the world. However, escaping expats will get hit with hefty exit fees. And Americans looking to escape taxes may want to move to Liberland. As we reported earlier this week, Liberland is the world's newest nation. The 3 square mile area is located between Croatia and Serbia. And its main selling point? You pay the taxes you want to pay. Earlier, Vit Jedlica, the self-proclaimed president of Liberland, joined us on the Exchange Newsline. Vit, welcome to Arise Xchange. Should I call you Mr. President?
Yes, that will be welcome, or you can also use Your Excellency.
Okay, Mr. President, welcome. Tell me how the new nation is going.
It's going pretty great. I'm on a diplomatic tour in Croatia now, and I just met some members of European Parliament from Croatia who recommended me how to approach foreign ministry in Croatia with my diplomatic mission.
Okay, so how legitimate is this new nation right now? Are you going to get United Nations recognition, EU recognition? How about your neighboring countries?
I don't recognize EU, so I don't need EU recognition. And I only need recognition from other states, basically. So, you know, whatever state we get first, we just send it out some other 100 notes to the rest of the world to get recognized. And we have been recognized basically by all major international media. And now we hope to get recognized. We humbly ask the other nations to recognize us. We don't need any international body to recognize us.
Well, okay, so let me ask you, you are a Czech citizen. Why does Europe need a new nation? They have enough problems with the nations they have right now, don't they?
Well, the problem is that the state is too big, in Europe especially, but it's getting larger every day all around the world. And no matter if the left or right is having the power, the taxes are always rising. There you have more regulations, more subsidies for big business. And there is a really definitely need for a change. I tried 5 years to change something in Czech politics, and I found it's nearly impossible to do anything about it within the system where oligarchs are controlling media and the subsidies. So I was thinking, everybody was telling me you should set up your own state to prove that your ideas of liberty work. And so I did that. And the
Liberland is basically you're trying to make it a libertarian country, correct? That your motto is live and let live. So what do you mean by that? Give us some examples.
Well, really, not to intrude into other people's lives. We really want to make taxes voluntary, so the people only pay for the services that they really want. So that's a totally different concept from all other nations where if you don't pay the tax, you go to jail. So
you're really big on property rights. So is this nation really about being a tax haven? You're sort of following in the footsteps of Monaco, for example?
Sort of, but I would rather call it a tax heaven. We are here to help the citizens from around the world to get out of the tax hells that have been created so far.
All right, and so how are citizenship requests going right now?
We are over 300,000, and out of that, some 28,000 are fully eligible requests. So, if we took everybody, we would be larger than Iceland by now.
Yeah, but it's a 3 square mile country. Not all 300,000 people can live there, can they?
Yes, I'm only giving the citizenships to the people who deserve it, by contributing to our work, by being here with us on spot, by doing the diplomacy all around the world, by building some sort of structures there, helping us to get more ships for our transport. So, only the people who are directly involved will get the citizenship in the early stage.
And you're going to accept dual citizenship, I take it?
Yes, of course. We don't have any problem with that.
All right. So how should people apply if they want to be citizens?
Just go to the registration process. On our website, it's on the main page. You fill up the form. You contact us with the way you can help us. Anybody can contact me directly at president@liberland.org. They just get them on the team.
Mr. President, let me also ask you, though, if people are going to give you money, how secure is the country? Monaco, for example, is protected by France. But what is going to keep your country from being taken over by either of the 2 countries that border you right now?
Actually, we have very friendly relations with Serbia so far. Like I had mayor of the biggest city, which is nearby, on whose catasters actually the land formerly was, supporting our project directly.
And I just finally want to ask you, this is going to be a democracy, right? You're going to hold elections?
Yes, but it will be very hard for the electorate body, for the government to change anything, basically, because if you read our constitution, we took the best part out of Swiss constitution, American constitution, and some parts of Estonian constitution, plus we included some very tough articles.
Mr. President, thank you so much. We wish you the best of luck. It is a tough road, I imagine, a new country in Europe right now. We'll check back in with you to see how things are going. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Coming up, our favorite people of the day. Stay with us on Arise Xchange.
There is a reason Africa is called the new frontier. What was once potential is now an opportunity ready to be seized. Once revered for our resources, today's wealth lies in our people. People who build the cities that shape the future. People who know an idea in one place means business in another. A generation for whom technology means there are no borders, no boundaries. We are the new lions in a brave new world, kings of the urban jungle. And there's a bank that puts the world in our pocket and the future in our hands. UBA, Africa's global bank.
Apple unveiled new products today. Did it meet expectations?
Apple stock is up 20%.
The White House says it has proper measures to contain the spread of Ebola.
This seems to be, in some ways, exploding. What are officials saying?
We remain focused on working with our partners on the ground to stop the epidemic.
Enhanced measures have been put in place in Africa and the United States.
This is hitting home in a very real way, and I think, yeah, we need to be concerned.
Hello and welcome to Arise America. I'm Debbie Turner-Bell.
Time now for our favorite person of the day, when we pick one person or more who grabbed our attention and not for the right reasons. Any parent will tell you that it can be hard to get the kids to do chores around the house and do well in school. So you can forgive two Florida parents for coming up with a new way to do just that. They bribed their teenage daughters with cocaine. Joey and Chad Mudd were arrested in Largo, Florida, and face multiple child abuse charges. It's alleged that they provided pot to their daughters and that Chad Mudd even snorted cocaine with them, all to get the teens to clean the house and study for school. Because after you smoke pot, chores and schoolwork are generally what you want to do. Right. The two girls, along with a younger sister, are now in the care of a family member, hopefully one with better parenting skills. And so Joey and Chad Mudd are our favorite people of the day. Next, we wrap up Small Business Week with what it takes to be an entrepreneur. You're watching Arise Xchange. Stay with us.
The search continues for the more than 200 abducted schoolgirls.
Unquestionably, this is a Nigerian problem.
President Barack Obama stopped short of visiting the border. Why can't Washington get anything done when it comes to immigration reform?
But you got to come up with a solution to it, and no one has a real solution.
Does this further terrorize people, make them more afraid, or is this making people angry? Hello and welcome to Arise America. I'm Debbie Turner-Bell.
Because we live in a global, interconnected world, business news no longer stops when the markets close on Wall Street. And what we've discovered over the past few years of the financial crisis is that events and news that happen even in the smallest countries impact the United States and the world at large. As we bring together experts and analysts and thought leaders and CEOs and companies across many industries to not only provide the macroeconomic view, but news everyday people can use.
One of the great things about Arise Entertainment 360 is we have this Arise to Your Health segment, which really focuses on the holistic approach of being healthy. So we do everything from working out to juicing to getting in shape by doing fun exercises like bouncing on a trampoline or wearing these bouncy boots on our feet when we're jumping all over the set. We've done karate, we've danced the weight off, we've done just about everything. And of course, I love when we eat on set, but we do it in a very healthy and clean way.
Experts say more than 50% of small businesses are doomed to fail within 3 years, and the number of new companies are on the decline. The number of startups created yearly fell by 20% between the 1970s and 2000s, according to the U.S. Census data. And the question is, why is it harder to start a small business and keep it these days? For that, we ask Frida Thomas. She is author of These Entrepreneurs, Three Entrepreneurs, New York City, and owner of Frida Thomas Consulting. Frida, welcome to Arise Xchange. It's an honor to have you on this program. Thank you so much.
It is a pleasure to be here with you.
Let us start with this question about entrepreneurship. What type of person goes into their own business?
A person that is looking for fulfillment. There's this voice, this internal knowing that working for someone isn't enough. And that person goes on a journey of exploration, envisioning what it would be like to live a life outside of the norm.
And you really have to have a fire in your belly, don't you?
Goodness.
Because every day is an obstacle.
Absolutely. It's an uphill climb, and most of the people in my book talk about the fact that you better hold on, get ready for the ride, because it's going to be an adventure. But what an adventure.
What stands out about the people you interviewed for your book?
Well, I interviewed 31 entrepreneurs, and it was critical for me to ensure that it was a dichotomous group. It is very diversified because I wanted to reflect what's happening here in New York City. There are people from Morocco. There's a young woman who came to this country whose family sent her here. No family here in New York City. She came to study. There are people here in the book from Jamaica, right? And for me, it was important to talk about the lives, the journeys, to document the stories of these people who on the exterior appear to be ordinary, and yet they are anything else.
Anything but. And that's an interesting point. They appear to be ordinary, but they are anything but. A few of them that stand out, Patia Bradshaw.
Yes, Patia Bradshaw and I have created a strategic alliance. She had her daughter at the age of 17, and at that point in her life, strong enough, willfully enough to say, I will not allow this situation to dictate what type of life I have. She went from that to working in corporate America for a major marketing firm, went back to school to get a master's degree while raising a child on her own.
Is that the typical path of the people you work with, that they have jobs, that they leave to create jobs? Or are some people coming right out of school these days and saying, I never want to work for somebody?
It's a mixture.
And by the way, you're always working for someone, even when you're an entrepreneur.
You're working for
your
yourself.
Customers and yourself, yeah.
It's true. It's such a mixture, and that's what I wanted to reflect, that people, some of them have been pushed out because of the economy in 2008. There's an attorney who couldn't find a job, and he made up his mind, Daniel Belizio, I'll just do it myself. As well, Kajenua Moet, she came back and forth from Canada trying to make a name for herself here in New York City.
We have about less than a minute left. What are the obstacles they face? Is this city, and New York City is a tough city to do business in, but is the city business friendly? And is the country business friendly these days, do you think? What are the entrepreneurs telling you?
It's tough. It really is. It takes such willfulness and tenaciousness to want to do this. But I believe that when the going gets tough...
But are there enough resources to help them and enough things standing in their way that don't have to be?
Yes, and I would say start with something like this. Grab this book. That's the reason why I wrote it, to take the guesswork out of what it takes to start a business. There's 7 pages, takeaway information, how to get started, how to avoid what the pitfalls associated with owning and operating a business.
Frida Thomas, these entrepreneurs in New York City, thank you so much. Fascinating. Pick up the book. You'll learn a lot. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next week on Arise Exchange, college graduation season is in full swing. Is a degree worth it these days? Let's take a look at the final numbers. For the week, the Dow Jones up 350 points. That's a big turnaround from the start of the week. The jobs numbers certainly helped today. I'm Andrew Schmertz. Thanks for watching Arise Exchange. Happy Mother's Day, everyone. See you on Monday.